From Hartford, Connecticut, Olivia Cochran and the Louisville Cardinals are in town. She's averaging double figures for the first time in her career, taking on the UConn Huskies, and Paige Bueckers putting up Player of the Year numbers once again. A full day of hoops here on Fox. Welcome to Hartford, Connecticut in the XL Center. It's a top 18 matchup in the first meeting in 2 years between the Louisville Cardinals and the UConn Huskies. Welcome in, everyone, to Connecticut, a place that Stephanie White knows really well, the Connecticut Sun head coach and reigning WNBA Coach of the Year. I'm Lisa Byington. And, Steph, we talk about this UConn team that, once again, injuries is again part of their story, like it has been the last couple of years. 4 key injuries. 2 of those 4 are to starters. But the other story, too, is Paige Bueckers is back from injury. And she's looking like the Paige Bueckers that we saw freshman year.
She absolutely is. She's looking like a Player of the Year candidate, no doubt. And she is putting the UConn Huskies on her back, doing everything on both ends of the floor, scoring just under 20 points a game, shooting it at a high clip, getting it done on the defensive end as well. Now it's how does everyone else around her reintegrating her in? How does everyone else step up and continue to play big in their roles?
Her resume looks like this: the 2021 AP National Player of the Year, and then almost 600 days that she played without a basketball in a basketball game. She's the preseason Big East Player of the Year again this year, and of course high expectations. Well, to the start of this, we didn't know what to expect with the Louisville Cardinals. Lots of transfers on their roster. Steph, they're 10-1 coming into today. This is arguably their toughest test of the season. Olivia Cochran, Louisville fans know that name so well. She's been here for 4 years, and she's one of the leaders again here this year.
And she's got to be a huge presence here today. When you think about the UConn Huskies, they're thin in the post, and Olivia Cochran can go to work. Try to get Aaliyah Edwards in foul trouble early. She's got a couple of double-doubles already on the season. She can be that force and that go-to offensively, but she's also got a tremendous challenge on the defensive end.
What do you make of this marquee matchup?
I think this is going to be a big matchup. You know, which player can step on the floor and be productive for their team? Which player can stay on the floor and stay out of foul trouble?
Good point. And both of those players, 4-year players at the same school. Hey, we got Louisville. We've got UConn. We've got a top 18 matchup to get your day started here on Fox. Well, just moments ago, Paige Bueckers, another milestone for her in her UConn career, receiving the basketball for 1,000 career points that she put up in the last game against North Carolina. And so many legends, Steph, have played, obviously, with UConn. And she tied Maya Moore for the fastest to get to 1,000 in her career.
Yeah, it really is incredible what she's been able to do when she's been on the floor and she's been healthy.
All right, so let's get to our starting lineups. Paige Bueckers is one of those in the UConn starting lineup. Our starting lineup's brought to you by Jeep. There's only one. It's actually the first time UConn has the same starting 5 3 games in a row. You've got the veterans, and then you've got the 2 freshmen in Arnold and Shade. And for the Louisville Cardinal, you've got 3 transfers: Taylor, Jefferson, Ricards, and then Harris and Cochran are your returners here for the Cardinals. I mentioned that the Louisville Cardinals come in with a 10-1 overall record. The only game that they lost to, they beat Ole Miss in Oxford on November 29th, and this is really the 3rd road game today for them. So it's a true test here for them in a very, very hostile environment.
When you think about the experience on this Louisville roster, but not a lot of these players have experience in this type of a ball game on the road.
Transfers from mid-majors now playing in the ACC for the first time. Good ball movement. The first shot taken by the freshman.
And that's a great sign for UConn early. Ball movement and player movement is something they've struggled with. Gino Auriemma telling us they worked on it all week in practice. It's a good sign to start the ball game.
Ashlyn Shade, a freshman out of Indiana. Season high in minutes the last couple of games, and gets the start once again. Here's the other freshman, KK Arnold, bringing it across. Boy, she's got speed out of Wisconsin. Germantown High School. Mule, and here's the touch to Paige Bueckers. Mule will take it inside. Aaliyah Edwards, she can hit that shot. 15 to about 17 feet out. You see the touch that she has. It's a 4-0 start.
We talked earlier about Olivia Cochran getting touches as she does right there. Aaliyah Edwards has a tendency to get into foul trouble. Get Cochran the ball, let her go to work.
Olivia Cochran, I mentioned, averaging double figures for the first time. Missed shot, perhaps a transition opportunity here for the Cardinals. Hard foul, count the bucket. It'll be Harris going to the free throw line for the and one.
Nyla Harris is a player that Jeff Walz has really been high on since she stepped foot on campus a year ago. She's confident, she's aggressive, you see she can finish with the contact. She's another player, when you look at UConn roster that's playing small, Nyla Harris is going to be matched up with Paige Beckers. How does UConn use that on the offensive end? How does Louisville use her on the block on the offensive end as well?
Yeah, really long wings and some big guards. Nyla Harris stands at 6'2" as a sophomore. One of the two starters returning from last year with Cochran. The last couple of games, though, she's been good, averaging about 14.5 points per game. And Louisville with the 5-4 edge.
And Louisville, they're going to come with this full court pressure. After free throws, after made shots, handling it is going to be key.
Leah Edwards offensive rebound and put back for her first two. Or second bucket, I should say, for the first 6 points. Edwards takes it away. Out and running, here's Arnold all alone for another two. And turnovers leading to offense. Both of these teams high in the steals per game category. Louisville gets about 10 per game. UConn about 9 per game.
And that's what UConn is going to have to do. They only have one true post player on the floor. When you play a small lineup, you got to get aggressive. You got to come with traps. You got to create possessions.
Good hustle. Nika Mule into the hands here of Beckers. Let's see what she can do on the transition look. Arnold steps into it. Not there. Kiki Jefferson, the leading scorer for Louisville here this year. A transfer out of James Madison, and the Cardinals cut the lead to 1. Beckers on the leak out. We'll have a couple free throws coming.
I like the pace early in the ball game. And if you're Connecticut, this is exactly what you want. You've got to be aggressive on the defensive end of the floor. You see Aaliyah Edwards come out in the hard show, able to get that deflection that leads to the steal. This is not the UConn teams of old that you see that are dominating on the glass, that have depth at every position. They're playing small. They've had to make adjustments. When you lose possessions from a rebounding standpoint, you have to create possessions with turnovers and steals for scores.
I love Gino Ariema's basically comments after the win against North Carolina last Sunday. He said, we got to win the math battle if we go small. You know, they will get more rebounds probably, so we got to force more turnovers. We have to make more three-point shots. We got to do that. We also got to make more free throws than the opponent this year.
Well, and going small, while it can be a disadvantage sometimes on the defensive end, it can be an advantage offensively because teams have to match up with you as well.
Cochran won't give her that three-point shot. She's only attempted 2 here this season. Hasn't made a three-pointer yet. That's a long 2, and Concord sinks it.
She can make that, and her ability to step up and consistently knock that shot down here today is going to be key for Louisville.
Plays with a lot of energy. She's a fan favorite, Louisville fan base. Hot shooting here to begin with. 4 of 5 for Louisville. UConn is 4 of 7 going into this possession.
That's great action right there for Paige Beckers. Nyla Harris not used to having to play off of pin downs and fade screens, and Nika Mule continuing her hot streak from 3.
Yes, 7 of her 8 shot attempts against North Carolina were three-point shot attempts. And Mule 42% from three-point territory this year. That closeout by the freshman, and Taylor hits it right in her face. Sydney Taylor, a transfer out of UMass. She had struggled shooting in the last game, and a turnover, a walking violation for UConn, trying to play at a little bit of pace. Jeff Walz, we mentioned we didn't know what, you even said it, I didn't know what to expect about your team, and he laughed. He said, I didn't either. You know, you got about 6 transfers all playing for their first year for the program. You have Lily Love, who's going to come off the bench. She had transferred last January, but hadn't played a game until this year for Louisville.
Well, only 4 returners, 2 of those returners starters. Got a lot of experience with these mid-major transfers, but putting it all together is tough at times, especially when you've got players who are used to dominating the ball.
Cochran's so tough, and you see that passion and emotion she plays with after that bucket.
And I love that action for Louisville. You saw right away the hard show is coming on the defensive end. Look at the slip and then create the turnover.
Off and running. They want to move it. They want to transition if they can. Taylor with another 2. And it's a three-point edge for Louisville on a 6-0 run. Catch and shoot opportunity for KK Arnold. Leah Love on the push. Love coming off the bench for the Cardinals. And Cochran's going to pursue that three-point shot.
I think that's one where she can step in as just 1 or 2 steps. Aaliyah Edwards is under the rim in the paint.
Some paint points for Paige Beckers. Now 3 points in the game for Beckers. You see the hot shooting, 7 of 9 for Louisville, 6 of 10 for UConn to begin with. Number 17 against number 18 in the country. Beckers no-looks it. Edwards finishes it. Beckers with eyes in the back of her head.
And Jeff Walz is going to want to talk about shot selection. Shot selection is just as key as taking care of the basketball. And poor shots lead to run-outs. Connecticut scoring on both of them. You see the slip action right here. Olivia Cochran going to work on the inside, and Paige Beckers gets out in transition, able to go to work, knocks down the pull-up.
We got a top 18 matchup, the Louisville Cardinals against Connecticut Huskies. Stephanie White, Lisa Byington with you. Jeff Walz, so successful with the Cardinals. You see the before Walz era and the with Walz. 17 seasons, look at the Sweet 16 appearances. They're actually the only active team to make the last 5 Elite Eights in the NCAA tournament.
Well, Jeff Walz has done an outstanding job. There's no doubt about it. I think the thing that separates him is that he's willing to take chances. You see it a lot on the defensive end of the floor. He thinks outside the box. He tries to be on the cutting edge.
And coming out of that timeout, though, UConn turning over Louisville, and the bucket for Aubrey Griffin.
I love what Aubrey Griffin can give this team off the bench. She's a player who can get to the rim, who's active on both ends of the floor, can be a spark.
UConn now on a 6-0 run. And a +3 advantage. Nina Rickards, the Florida transfer, looking for something. Again, another touch for Cochran, and you can see why. She's leading the way. She's got 8 points.
Well, it's important to keep her involved in the action. Keep Aaliyah Edwards active. You saw early in the first quarter, they're not going to guard her on ball reversals. Now you get her in some on-ball screen actions. You force Edwards to be active on the defensive end.
Here's a look for Paige Beckers. Nothing but net. You're shaking your head.
Because I think, you know, it's tough to ask a forward to match up on Paige Beckers. She's a guard, she's active, and I love the actions that UConn are using to get her touches. You're taking a forward who's not used to chasing on off-ball screens, and you're forcing them into multiple actions.
Beckers and Edwards combining for 12 of the first 21 here for UConn.
Lisa, you mentioned it. We're talking about a player who didn't play for almost 600 days. She's shooting at over 50% from the floor. She's shooting at nearly 50% from 3. Her timing, her rhythm, these are not easy things to get back when you haven't played a basketball game. And she looks like she's not missed a beat. It's right here, just coming off the screen, the change of pace, change of speed. She catches shot ready, passes on the money, and it's good.
Well, you mentioned her percentages. I mean, not only is she kind of a 3-level scorer, but she's at a 50, 40, 80. I wouldn't be surprised if she got that 80 to 90% at the free throw line kind of season here so far. Cochran, a tough challenge there by UConn. Huskies want to run a little bit. Nika Mule. They reach in. Louisville tips it away. Both of these teams want to force some turnovers. Jada Curry fires and hits. A Curry for 3 with the number 30 on her back. Go figure.
And Jada Curry is really an important piece of what Louisville does. She has the ability to stretch the floor. They've got multiple scorers on the floor. And if they can knock down shots from the three-point line, that makes them even more dangerous.
Ashlyn Shade pulls up from mid-range. Has a good shot to her. Now started 4 of the last 5 games for Shade. Jefferson will reset. Kiki Jefferson now pulls up from 15 feet out. That soft touch. Jefferson, the leading scorer here for Louisville.
And she's been, as Aubrey Griffin gets out in transition. I like the pace that we're seeing right now. I think it favors both teams. Both teams don't want to have to execute in the half court. They want to be able to push in transition. But going back to Kiki Jefferson, she's a player who's used to being a volume scorer. She's used to getting lots of touches, having the ball in her hands. Now she's had to adjust to playing a little bit more off the ball. I think as the season progresses and as they get into ACC play, her numbers are going to continue to grow as she gets more comfortable and confident in this offense.
Well, it'll be Griffin. The chance to talk to her dad, Adrian Griffin, head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. He watches her games and says one thing that he wants to see her do is to rebound, rebound, rebound. She can affect the game really well in that way.
It sounds like what coaches want from their kids.
Coach who's a dad.
Yeah. Rebound, defend.
Ice Brady commits her first personal. You know, it's interesting, both of these teams, you know, so much history. We showed you what Louisville has done. I mean UConn's success, I think, speaks for itself. But both of these head coaches really not there where they want to be defensively at this point, about 9 or 10 games in.
Oftentimes, it's more fun for us to talk about offensively building chemistry and camaraderie, and it's the same thing happens on the defensive end of the floor. If you're Louisville, you got a lot of new pieces. If you're Connecticut, you've got a lot of young pieces. How'd you build your defensive identity takes time as well.
That's the way of college basketball now on both the men's and the women's side, though. All kinds of new faces, new pieces, transfers from different schools. Every year is going to be a completely new year. Inside and trying to foul KK Arnold. Two-time Arnold Big East Freshman of the Week. Lots of expectations for her. Actually, the preseason Big East Freshman of the Year pick.
Well, you can see she's so good at getting downhill, being able to get to the rim, to score it, use her body to facilitate as well. And you know, a bonus for Gino Auriemma is he's got a lot of primary ball handlers on the floor. You know, think of KK Arnold, you think of Nika Mule and Paige Beckers, but that's also a challenge when you have players who are better with the ball in their hand, whether it's scoring for themselves or whether it's facilitating for others.
It's a problem. I guess it's a nice problem to have. A lot of people would like to have those problems.
No question about it. But you think about somebody specifically like Nika Mule, who led this offense a year ago so well.
It's a foul call.
So well. And now Paige Becker's back on the floor. How do you adjust to playing with a primary ball handler, with someone who needs the ball in their hands, you know, a lot throughout the game? I think they're still trying to figure that out. You see just a little push off by Jefferson. Great defensive effort by KK Arnold.
And that's 2 on Jefferson, the leading scorer for Louisville here this year. And here is Nika Mule initiating the offense. Sequence without Paige Beckers here for UConn. Griffin, nowhere to go, needs some help. 13 seconds on the shot clock. 9 now to shoot here for Mule. Griffin takes her time and sinks the three-point shot. Just the second three-pointer for her this season.
But it's a rhythm three. Those are the shots that you want her taking. And Gino Auriemma talked to us about needing his team to be aggressive and stay aggressive. And if you make mistakes, you got to move on and get to the next play.
You know, Dad didn't say anything about the three-pointer.
He did not say anything about that.
She's got 8 points here to lead all scorers here for UConn. Love takes it inside, not there. Rebound to Ice Brady. And again, the Huskies looking to push. Moving at pace. Nika Mule, pump fake, trying to feed Brady. Wrapped it up. We got a jump ball coming. It'll be Cardinals basketball. Both of these teams averaging in about the high 70s offensively. Both teams score enough to win games, and we're seeing it here as a case in point in this first quarter. Coming into this matchup, both head coaches, as we've talked about, defense might decide this one. And we got a touch foul against Ashlyn Shade. That's her second. And the 4th team foul. So no free throws yet. 18 seconds left in the first quarter. A look for Russell. And she nails the three-point. Just a 26% three-point shooter going into that possession. Arnold looking to push missed it. She walked with it, so no shot. And the first quarter has come to an end, 28-27. We got a nice tight one, Steph White.
I like this pace. Let's keep it up.
Paige Bueckers honored before this one. All kinds of stars performing in the first quarter. Let's go. 6 lead changes, 3 ties between Louisville and Connecticut. Stephanie White, Lisa Byington with you. You were highlighting sort of the center matchup. Olivia Cochran leading the way with 8 points in the first quarter.
Well, she's been really efficient. They were going to her early and often, and she was showing her range, that 15 to 17-foot shot. She's going to have to continue to knock that down. I love the way Louisville started using her in the 2-man game, forcing Edwards to actively be engaged on D. And then offensively, Edwards can do the same thing. She's extended her range, that 15 to 17. She is an aggressive offensive rebounder, understands where to be when Paige Bueckers has the ball, finishing in transition.
And so the key matchup today, we're going to keep our eye on it all day long. First quarter stats, pretty darn good between these two, almost equal between these two.
Well, I think the efficiency is key. And you're going to get the ball in positions to be successful. Make sure you're able to knock it down. And for both of them, really good defense, disciplined, not fouling.
I mentioned at the beginning, too, Stephanie, that these two unique, both 4-year seniors, both playing college basketball at the same school.
I think right now you go to Aaliyah Edwards inside. Olivia Cochran is on the bench. Nyla Harris can use her athleticism, but not the same power.
If they recognize it, Edwards is calling for it. Here's Griffin.
And it's tough when you have Aubrey Griffin up there trying to hit Edwards on that pass because they're not going to guard her from the 3-point line. Yes, she hit one. They're going to make her hit more.
Here's Edwards with the touch baseline. And she's got 8 points now.
Already, Lisa, the ball movement and player movement for Connecticut has been better. You can tell it's something they've worked on. This is more what we're used to seeing from a UConn Huskies basketball team.
It's something that Gino Auriemma talked about. I mean, they basically had a whole week to prepare for the North Carolina win on Sunday to the game here today. Told us they had some practice time. It was good to be able to prepare for some of that stuff.
And part of the reintegration of Paige Bueckers. Early in the season, you see times where Bueckers has the ball and everybody stands and watches instead of what we're used to seeing. The ball is popping and moving, players are moving, cutting, and multiple players touching her.
She's got a size advantage. We've seen her post up on the block against a smaller guard. Jada Curry listed at 5'6" for Louisville. On the push, no exception. Bueckers block. We're getting used to seeing that.
Yeah, this is something that I have really enjoyed watching from Paige Bueckers this season is her defensive energy and effort. Block shots, steals, active and aggressive. So she's a player who loves to play the game, right? She loves to play the game. She's got great instincts. She understands timing, spacing.
She's got 5 total blocks in the last couple of games. 4 blocks in the last game against North Carolina. From mid-range, off the glass, tough shot for Sydney Taylor. And UConn doesn't waste any time. Here goes Griffin. Transition points, count the bucket and the foul. 10 off the bench for Aubrey Griffin.
And this is intentional. Ball goes through the net on one end. Aubrey Griffin is out running. Nika Mule knows that. She finds her in transition, getting to the rim easily. And this is, again, the lift that Aubrey Griffin can give this team from an energy standpoint off the bench. She's aggressive to the rim. She's getting opportunities. She's active on the defensive end of the floor. She's a decent rebounder, even though her father thinks she needs to be a better rebounder.
No, this, parents and coaches are never satisfied. Well, Griffin coming off the bench this year, but does provide some starting experience as well, taking it all the way. Taylor goes back-to-back buckets. KK Arnold at speed. Is this the best pace you've seen UConn play so far this year?
It is. It is the best pace, most fluid. You know, not as disjointed.
Oops, that's my fault. I'll take the. We're talking about the fluidness of the offense, and they turn it over.
But also Louisville. Louisville's a team that wants to get out in transition off of steals, but when you think about scoring and pace and transition, if it's not off of steals, you haven't seen as much pace from Louisville.
Each team with 10 fast break points here to open up. Cochran has checked back in. Curry for 3. Hit her first attempt. Offensive rebound. Bueckers was going for it. Gets another block. 2 blocks for Paige Bueckers. And on the transition, Almost pulled the trigger, gets fouled by Taylor, so that's 2 on Taylor.
But that's a little thing right there. Nika Mule understanding that Paige Beckers is coming in transition, didn't get the shot off, but just knowing where she is on the floor, how can we get her touches in flow where we're not just forcing her to go to work one-on-one.
We were talking to Gino Auriemma about Paige Beckers as a defender, and he said a lot of people underestimate what her length is. No one underestimates what kind of shooter she is, so second three-pointer for Beckers today.
No one wants to see a great player on the bench with injuries, especially for as long as Paige Beckers was. But it gives you an opportunity to see the game from a different perspective, to study the game. Gave her an opportunity to get stronger. Not just physically stronger, but mentally stronger. Sharpen up your skills, and she is playing like that. She's a coach on the floor right now. She's dominating the ball on both ends.
This high defensive energy here from UConn, making it tough for Louisville. We got a jump ball. It'll stay here. The Cardinals will have 5 seconds here to work with on the shot clock.
You cannot go under a screen on Paige Beckers. She's shooting 47% from the three-point line. She understands she's got the space. She doesn't need a lot of time, and she knocks it down.
Quickly on the out of bounds. And Edwards brings it down. Yeah, I had to look at that like 2 or 3 times. I was like, am I seeing that? Is that a field goal percentage? 47%?
Yes.
That's a three-point field goal percentage. Good defense here from Louisville, and they want to push. Mentioned 10 fast break points for both of these teams to open up the second quarter. Cochran calling for it. She's been the meal ticket here so far for the Cardinals with a kick out to Curry. And Shea chasing down for the rebound and draws the foul on Russell, her second. So 3 players for Louisville have 2 personal fouls here in this first half. Sydney Taylor with 2, Kiki Jefferson with 2, and Marissa Russell now with 2.
It's tough to guard a lot of activity. When players are moving, when the ball is moving, when you're forced into rotation, it makes it tough to guard. And UConn is putting that pressure on the Louisville defense right now.
Griffin nearly lost it. Aubrey Griffin step through move. I'll make Dad smile. The biggest lead of the game here for UConn. Hasn't missed a shot. Griffin 12 points, 5 for 5 from the field. Nika Mule, change of pace. Over to Shea. Knocks it down. 3-pointers wild for UConn. 5 of 8. 60%, above 60% from 3 and part of an 8-0 run.
Ashlyn Shade, that is what she does. She steps up and she knocks down 3-point shots. Nika Mule understands that. She gets her the ball where she can be successful.
See that space that Edwards is giving Cochran. There's a step back move.
I felt like Russell missed an opportunity with the first shot. Made it a tougher shot shooting the step back.
On the deck, jump ball. It'll be UConn basketball.
Well, Aubrey Griffin has been terrific for Connecticut off the bench. Her ability to get to the rim, to finish in traffic and in transition. Nika Mule, one of the best point guards in the country. She understands Ashlyn Shade's a shooter. She gets it to her on time, on target.
Well, today is Aubrey Griffin's 5th double-figure scoring game of the season. She's had a string of 5 straight starts this year. In the last 3, though, she's been coming off the bench and providing quite a spark. Eight now to shoot. Here's Edwards. Right-handed dribble, a little bit off balance. No shot. A foul before. It's Cochran's first. So Mule will sub out. It'll be KK Arnold, the freshman. Beckers, Edwards, Griffin stays in. And Ashlyn Shade. And we got an offensive foul call. Paige Beckers first. UConn has stretched it out to the largest lead of the game, +9. We are 5 minutes away from the first half. Mike, thanks so much. We look forward to it. Yeah, full day of hoops across the land to get you started with this top 18 matchup. Stephanie White, Lisa Byington with you. The largest deficit, Steph, for Louisville this year has been 13. They trailed to Paul, who started that game really hot shooting from 3, as we know Doug Bruno teams can do. Is now at 9. What do they got to do to get back into it here before the half?
They got to get stops. You know, UConn is shooting at almost 70% from the floor. They got to find a way to get stops, be able to get out in transition. No, I think Louisville has enough balance on the offensive end, but where their bread and butter is the defensive end of the floor, creating turnovers for scores, getting out in transition.
You see the shooting too for Louisville. They started out hot in the first quarter, and it has been a cold second quarter here for the Cardinals. So without the pressure here by this UConn defense. Inside 5 minutes left to play here in the second quarter. High off the glass, Kiki Jefferson converts on a tough shot.
And I'd like to see Kiki Jefferson get a little bit more involved offensively. She has the ability to get downhill and to score.
Jefferson playing with the 2 personals. And playing 10 minutes so far here in this first half. Arnold not afraid to take it downhill, but they knock it away. There's quick hands by the Louisville defense.
And I think this is the challenge for Connecticut. If you're in a half-court game, can you continue with the same kind of pace in your movement? It's not going to be the pace up and down the floor, but it's pace in movement and half-court execution. Getting multiple touches, 13 assists on 16 made field goals is good right now.
But can you do it when you're not in transition? Here's Griffin with 2 here to shoot. And Griffin's first miss of the day.
And that's an example of timing. That's a play where you got to get something. Paige Beckers is used as a screener early. Her man has to help. You got to be able to get her a touch on that. But it's all timing of understanding when to get the ball to her off of the screen.
Edwards cleans it up here for UConn. And Louisville doing a good job getting some numbers back at least. Working around back to Beckers. Jab step, trying to cross over Love. Catch and shoot for Shade. It's what she does. Not that time. The Cards gives it up to Curry. Here's Jefferson from the wing. Sinks the shot. Their 3-point shooting has not been great for Louisville. Like to see those percentages get better as the season goes on. Today, Louisville shooting 38% from 3.
But right there, Aubrey Griffin would have been open on that cut if the pass was clean and the catch was clean. Now, those are things that you're not used to seeing from UConn teams.
Cochran with the turn and face. She's got numbers around her. Cochran 0 points in the second quarter. Remember, she had the 8 points in the first quarter. Here's Cochran. Making a move on Edwards, lost her footing and turns it over. And so UConn has numbers. Here's Griffin, strong to the hoop, and Griffin's got 14 points.
It's what it's going to take. It's going to take players other than Paige Beckers being threats offensively. Certainly everybody's game plan is going to be to load up and make Paige Beckers' life miserable, right? As tough as it can be.
Over the back for Louisville. Things unraveling here in the second quarter for the Cardinals.
In transition, KK Arnold just a little toss off to Griffin, who's been efficient when she gets 2 feet in the paint.
So now it's Mule and Beckers going off ball here to initiate this offense is KK Arnold.
It's a pin down coming back.
Yes, you knew it. You've seen it. And the slip to Edwards, beautifully done.
Yeah, really good execution. Again, you know Paige Beckers is going to draw a crowd. Right now, Louisville is small, so likely going to switch on those pin downs. Perfect read, terrific timing on the pass.
Interesting to see UConn evolve with this small lineup. Injuries to 4 players. 2 of them starters here this year for the Huskies. Have to kind of reinvent the wheel with rotations. Jefferson, after the last bucket, has 11 points, the first of double figures for Louisville.
Same action. Ooh, had her again, just wasn't in a position to make a pass.
Yeah, but that time Harris kind of learned her lesson.
Well, and that time, Mika Mule's in the logo. You've got to be in a position to make that pass. You see the action right here. It's just a little dribble entry, the back screen, setting up the pin down. Multiple players aware of Paige Beckers, and Aaliyah Edwards gets loose.
Tough to defend when you're using those two players involved in those two actions, two of the best players that UConn has.
But you also have to have the right personnel on the floor. Nika Mule comes back in the game. Aubrey Griffin, who they were playing off of, is on the bench now, so the spacing is there. Players have to be actively guarded on the three-point line.
Well, Jefferson going into this possession for Louisville has the last 7 points for the Cardinals. Here is Jefferson. She's got the last 9. Counted off the glass.
Got to keep giving her the ball. I mean, her ability with her size and strength to score, to be able to knock it down from 3.
60 seconds left to play here in the half. A cutting, Paige Beckers. And a tie-up. Good defense from Lily Love. And forcing the turnover. It'll be a jump ball possession look towards Louisville's way.
It's an easy catch right there for Jefferson, and she's got the size advantage and the strength to be able to go in and score that. And I think Louisville can continue to play through her off the ball, get her touches. There will be adjustments, there will be rotations, and she can open up for other players.
She's got 13 points, as you see, only missed 1 shot. Coming into today, 29 points off of 2,000 in her career. That's the kind of scoring she did at James Madison. Here she is again, Jefferson. Blocked that time by Edwards, but stays with it. Oh, persistence paying off for Kiki Jefferson.
Got an opportunity for a 2-for-1 if you go quick, if you're Connecticut.
Edwards has the same idea, right-handed layup.
That's a great read by Aaliyah Edwards.
Good response by the Cardinals, though, trailing by as many as 9 here in this first half. It's a 4-point deficit. Just about a tenth of a difference between shot clock and game clock. The Cards resets. Here's Curry with a handoff. UConn steps in the way. Neal, the lofting pass to Edwards, tried to athletically corral it, but traveled with it in a turnover, so about 3 seconds to work with for Louisville. Eight turnovers for Louisville, 9 turnovers for UConn in this half. The Cards can't get the shot off in time. And so the Cardinals doing a good job to make it tight again as halftime is here. Trailing by as many as 9. Number 17 versus number 18. We see you, Paige Beckers. Beckers with 9 points here in this first half. Competitive, tight, what we want from Hartford. 6 lead changes, 3 ties. We check out today's stat comparison sponsored by Jeep. There's only one. High shooting percentages for both of these teams, shooting above 56% in the first half. I hope I just didn't jinx it. Stephanie White, the reigning coach of the year in the WNBA. I'm Lisa Byington. You know, part of UConn's storyline, I guess, this year is obviously Paige Beckers, but who can score in addition to Paige Beckers? And we saw some solutions here in this first half for UConn.
Absolutely. A great sign that multiple players are touching the ball every possession. And Aaliyah Edwards and Aubrey Griffin off the bench have been terrific early for the Huskies. This is the team that's assisted 16 times on their 19 made field goals, and the 2 of them combined for 12 of 13 from the floor, getting it done in multiple positions on the floor, attacking the rim, but the ball movement and player movement, which is something that Gino Auriemma addressed in practice this week, and it has been much better here today.
He said, Gino had said, if Paige is not getting enough assists, and we aren't doing a good enough job moving the basketball, and it's not just Paige with the assists, right? It's Nika Mule, she's got 8 assists here at halftime. Paige has 3, but it's spread around.
Well, and that's where we see UConn teams at their best. The ball is moving, multiple players are touching it, finding the right open teammate, making the extra passes just like that.
on that first possession. Now, the basket didn't go down, but I think every single UConn player touched it.
And that's what you want to see. You know, it is a growth process. You're starting two freshmen who were meant to be role players, experienced players. AZ Fudd, who's out for the season. Caroline Ducharme, who has missed multiple games. They were supposed to be the ones in the starting lineup. So learning what does it mean to play UConn basketball, getting experience in game action.
Mika Mule fires in the air ball. Well, you mentioned it. There's 4 key injuries, but 2 of the 4 were starters here for this team. And so it's a juggling act in the rotations in the lineup for UConn.
And you hate to see it, and this has been a story for UConn for the last few years, and learning to adjust, learning to play with new pieces on the floor has been key.
Paige Beckers picks the pocket out to Mule, back to Beckers on the transition, and Beckers is in double figures with 11. Paige Beckers not only had 4 blocks in the last game against North Carolina, she had 3 steals in that game as well. See the fast break points, 17 of them here for UConn. It's a straightaway look for Taylor that won't go down for Louisville. And persistence there, but an offensive foul against Nyla Harris.
Well, UConn getting it done on the defensive end of the floor by being disruptive. Getting out and aggressive on the ball, in passing lanes, able to get out in transition. That's a textbook 2-on-1 break.
A little bit of pressure here coming from Sydney Taylor against the freshman. Deflected pass. First turnover here for UConn. Oh, Beckers again! Beckers blocks keep coming.
Well, Paige Beckers in transition, doesn't give up on the play, stays active and aggressive, gets the block.
And a technical foul after that whole sequence. Jeff Walz and Paige Beckers will step to the free throw line. You know that he works the officials. He's been working them today.
Today?
But I said we know we can work it, right? The prime time start. He likes that. Joke that prime time is noon when you get to your 50s.
I think that happens in the 40s too.
7 o'clock and 8 o'clock is bedtime. He is fired up today, and most days, right, Stephanie White?
Well, I think he felt like there was a foul on that Paige Beckers block.
She's liking this blocking thing. 3 blocks here today. She had 4 blocks in the last game. Edwards turning and facing against Capri. Been one of the matchups to watch in the first half.
And she's got the mismatch down low. Not able to take advantage.
Cochran with the takeaway. Ricards with the pull-up. And a second chance opportunity here for the Cardinals. Jefferson had a hot streak in the second quarter. And a foul there on the floor. Against Beckers. Her second. Aubrey Griffin will check in for her first minutes of the second half. Only missed 1 shot in the first half, 14 points to lead everyone on the UConn side. Off the fingertips. It's Arnold chasing it down for another fast break point.
That's a heck of a play by KK Arnold. Beating Ricards to that loose ball, finishing in traffic with a little bit of contact. And those are those hustle plays, those 50-50 balls. That's the difference.
Baseline take, that's tough. Nyla Harris, and one coming. Aubrey Griffin commits her first personal.
It's a tough move down low by Nyla Harris. Uses that baseline, able to get around, finish it on the other side.
And so Nyla Harris to the free throw line. Last couple of games, I mentioned 14.5 points per game, 67% from the field against Kentucky and Morehead State.
I love how aggressive she's been to the rim. You know, she's a player who has incredible athleticism, who has the ability to put the ball on the floor.
Uh-oh, little tie-up, Cochran and Edwards, and a foul there on the floor. And that'll be Cochran's second. And she's trying to plead her case that Edwards was holding her.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't?
No.
You've tried that?
Yeah, we've tried.
Oh. The more you know. Arnold looking for that screen against Edwards and feeds Edwards. Two-player game for the Huskies.
Great execution. And what pace by KK Arnold coming off of that two-man, making sure she engaged the big.
Pressure coming against Louisville. Taylor with the crossover and draws the contact.
And look, Louisville is one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. They've gotten to the line more than most teams in the SEC have. They've made more than most teams in the SEC have attempted. So I think turning up the heat a little bit, attacking off the bounce, getting opportunities to get to the foul line is going to be important.
They shoot at a high percentage too. I mean, as a team, almost 80%. 78% as a team for the year. You mentioned how many free throws they make. They average about 18 free throw makes per game. Fifth most in the country. And today, just 5 of 6 from the free throw line.
And it gives them an opportunity to set their pressure. So you get to the free throw line, you make them, you can set your pressure, you can give different looks. I think they have to try to be a little bit more disruptive to UConn's flow offensively.
UConn has made its last 3 attempts on its last 3 possessions. Edwards makes it 4 straight.
And again, I go back to KK Arnold, making the right plays, making the right reads in that two-man.
And Louisville not wasting any time. Kiki Jefferson, 17 points for Jefferson. On 8 of 11 shooting for Jefferson. Above her scoring average, she averages about 12 per game. Curry looking towards Jefferson's way. The foul against Aubrey Griffin, her second. And it's the 4th team foul here for UConn, so no free throws yet. Curry to take it out. 23 seconds on the shot clock. Taylor gets that double team. And a jump ball.
One dribble too many. One dribble too many. The double team was coming. Just a quick pass to Cochran, getting it on the reversal. Right now, Taylor has the advantage, but Aaliyah Edwards commits. Aaliyah Edwards commits early. You got to get that ball out and get it moving.
Cochran, the jumper, not there. Jefferson battling for it, but into the hands of Griffin. Aubrey Griffin with 2 rebounds to go along with their 14 points. Cross it over. Griffin looking for it. Griffin staying with it. Griffin putting it through for 16 points.
Oh, what an extra effort by Aubrey Griffin. That's what it takes. Multiple levels of effort. She's stuck with the play and able to get 2.
Season high for Griffin is 20 that she got against Kansas.
And you see Griffin really working to post Down low, get in front of Nyla Harris. And that's what you have to do when you're small. If you're small and you're guarding a big, you got to get in front. You got to sit on their knees. But Aubrey Griffin has been terrific off the bench for Connecticut all afternoon long. Getting 2 feet in the paint, staying with the play with a strong finish.
Guys, but we got to pick the ball up. Back here ain't doing it. They're getting a full head of steam coming right down at it.
It's getting back closer.
Jeff Walz is exactly right. I mean, 20 fast break points for Connecticut. No one is stopping the ball. They're able to pass it ahead and get to the rim easily. Got to pick it up early, and that's an advantage that Connecticut has had from the opening tip.
We talked about Aubrey Griffin's first half, and her third quarter is starting out pretty good as well. Hit her only shot, but she's making a difference here for UConn.
Well, her ability to get downhill and to get 2 feet in the paint. We see the lone three that she hit, but this is where she's been really effective. In transition, attacking off the bounce. They are going to play off of her. They are going to force her to make shots or make plays, and I think she's been aggressive, she's been confident, and she's been finishing.
17th team in the country against the 18th team in the country from Hartford, Connecticut. Coming out of that timeout, Harris got a look. UConn has made its last 5 attempts going into this possession.
And they've done a good job of forcing tough shots by Louisville and securing the defensive board. Rebounding has been a key and a concern for Gino Auriemma all season long, and they've done a great job on the defensive glass here today.
A 16-12 advantage on the defensive boards. There's Beckers. More points for Beckers. And 2 for 2 in the third quarter. She's got 5 points in this quarter.
And it's going to open up for her the more that this game goes on. Certainly when you think about Aubrey Griffin's ability to get to the rim, Aaliyah Edwards down low, that's going to take some pressure off of Paige Beckers and allow things to open up for her.
Griffin pushes it away. Another block for UConn. 5 total for the team here today. 3 of them coming from Beckers. 11-point advantage. This is the largest lead today. Edwards adding to it. The jumper falls. Aaliyah Edwards, Steph White, 9 for 9 today.
And I love her taking that shot. I mean, she's a player who is really good attacking the rim from that elbow position. The more that she takes that shot, the more that she makes that shot, defense has to respect it.
Love takes a peek inside. Curry sneaks out behind the three-point line, short.
That was really good execution. They got exactly what they wanted. But now UConn out in transition again.
Griffin leaks out for another 2. Jeff Walz has to call the timeout.
He's not going to be happy with that effort. Shot goes up. No one has a sense of urgency to get back in transition. Defense just kind of walking around. Jeff Walz is not going to be happy.
It's Louisville's biggest deficit of the season. UConn out and running. An 8-0 run has stretched this one out. Getting it done here so far. They're almost 3 complete.
And this is what it's going to take. It's going to take balance. It's going to take multiple players stepping up day in and day out. You can't just rely on Paige Beckers to shoulder the load. And Aubrey Griffin has been terrific. Aaliyah Edwards as well.
Boy, Edwards, I mean, Griffin has 18 points. Edwards has 18, but hasn't missed a shot. Do you believe in the announcers' checks?
I do.
Okay, so I should hold this stat? Okay. I won't say anything yet. Stephanie Whiteley surprising with you. See, Louisville has some answers here coming out of this timeout, trailing 63-48.
Missed opportunity to get Cochran the ball right there. She showed him her numbers.
Here's Jefferson, who's been part of the offensive answer for Louisville. Gets it out, but it squeezes out for Love. That's been the luck for the Cardinals today.
It looked like that play after the timeout, designed to get Cochran the touch. They missed her and ended up settling for a contested jumper.
You see there, UConn has made its last 8 attempts. Highly efficient offense that we're seeing this afternoon.
And Louisville changing it up in the 2-3 zone. Trying to find some way to contain the paint.
One of the rare misses in this third quarter for UConn. About 8 of 11 as a team in this quarter. Off the right side, that's short for Ricards. Beckers gives it back over to Shea. Again, good ball movement by the Huskies. Picked it off, read it all the way. Here comes Jefferson. Kiki Jefferson, a one-person break. And Beckers gets a piece of it.
The sense of urgency in transition defense for Connecticut has been here all game long. I mean, being able to make plays when it looks like Louisville might have a run out. Multiple times that's been Paige Beckers. You know, one of the other things that happens when you haven't played for a long time like Paige is you don't take the moments on the floor for granted. The multiple levels of effort, the not taking a play off, not taking a possession off, all of that is renewed because you haven't been able to be on the floor.
Ooh, going down to the floor. It's Alif Istanbuloglu who's getting her first minutes here today. A freshman out of Turkey. That's the third personal on Aaliyah Edwards. Istanbuloglu will go to the free throw line. An interesting story with her. Jeff Walz just started recruiting her in early August. He was at a U20 tournament, European tournament, overseas. Was recruiting someone else, and you know this, Steph. Sometimes someone catches your eye.
Yes.
And Alif was a player who did that with Jeff Walz. Had to go through the NCAA, got a late clearance, and she debuted against Cincinnati.
And she's a player who's got a great skill set. Jeff Walz talks about a lot of upside. And a lot of these European players, they play in the junior leagues of the pro teams over there. And she was practicing every day with Fenerbahce and Brianna Stewart and some of the best players in the W and in Turkey and internationally. And so she's gotten that experience of what it means to compete day in and day out.
Edwards trying to challenge her, goes right by her. That's her first miss.
What a rebound by Aubrey Griffin.
Gets it out. Griffin rebound, and then on the deck was able to find a shooter. And a third opportunity on this possession for UConn. And they turn it over. Well, Aaliyah Edwards was 9 for 9. I held the stat, Steph Weiss. So does it count?
Yeah, I don't know. You kind of put it
just
out there.
Hinting,
yeah,
hinting
you kind of put it out there.
Well, Aubrey Griffin, Rebecca Lobo had 11 straight field goals. We're not that powerful, Stephanie. I don't believe in announcers' jinx.
When I was just announcing, I didn't believe in announcers' jinx. But
now you're superstitious, right?
Right, yes.
Beckers with another block. Ties her career high with 4 blocks here today. Back-to-back games with 4 blocks for Beckers. To the corner, Griffin had 1 3-pointer today, takes it inside. Aubrey Griffin's having herself a game, 20 points here today.
That's just great patience. Uses the shot fake to force the defender to close. And she is so quick with that first step.
Right side look there for Ricards. Jeff Walz has talked about the adjustment of these transfers. Ricards coming from Florida. Maybe a little bit more used to the pace and physicality coming from the SEC over to the ACC. Beckers with the miss, and we've played 3 complete quarters. UConn outscored Louisville in this quarter 19-9. We got the final 10 minutes left to play. Louisville, UConn tangling once again. UConn has been dominant, to say the least, under Gina Auriemma. 57 conference championships, 22 Final Fours, 11 national titles. The last championship, though, and we only say this really in the context of UConn, the last championship is 2016. Most people would love to have 1 national championship, let alone 11, and this is the longest drought since you see that since 1982 to 94. We paused to listen to Taylor Swift a little bit for good reason. It's UConn Eras Day today, in kind of a similar aspect of Taylor Swift's Eras tour. I hear Taylor's a big deal, so you give away these T-shirts representing the UConn eras, the great different eras under Gina Auriemma. The reason why they're wearing the uniforms that they're wearing, going back to the Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird days. I know UConn fans love seeing these jerseys when they bring them back out, but they call them throwback jerseys.
I was like, is it really a throwback? It wasn't all that long ago, was it?
Coming from two people who played in the 90s, I think that was a great argument. Out of the timeout, there's KK Arnold.
But certainly throwing back to the UConn dominant days.
Maybe they'll shake off that foul, right? Shake it off.
I like it. I like it, Lisa.
You had to get,
now,
one reference.
If you would have sung it, it would have been even better.
I would never, never. Offensive foul call. Been a frustrating third quarter and start of the fourth for Louisville.
Well, that's just really good defense by KK Arnold. Kiki Jefferson lower in the shoulder.
And the fourth personal on Kiki Jefferson. Season high is 21 that she picked up against Gonzaga. Jefferson with her 17 points here today. And an offensive foul call back the other way. This time against KK Arnold.
Well, if you're Louisville right now, you've got to turn up the heat on the defensive end of the floor. You've got to get turnovers for scores. You can't trade buckets. Got to find a way to get some easy ones because Connecticut forcing Louisville to take tough contested shots in the half court. So they got to open it up a little bit.
This is a team, too. They spread it around minutes-wise. They spread it around. There's not one kind of go-to scorer, though Kiki Jefferson may be emerging and Cochran emerging as those two players here for Louisville this year. Getting acclimated, though, with so many different players. Jefferson staying in with the four personals, trying to feed Cochran, and another turnover. Look at 14 turnovers here for the Cardinals. Today is arguably the toughest test for Louisville across their schedule. It's the second-ranked opponent that they've taken on. Paige Beckers drills the three right through the heart of the bucket.
Well, I mean, it's terrific execution because, again, you use Paige Beckers as a screener. And when her man has to help or a switch happens, you're going to get her on the secondary action. Terrific execution by UConn.
Good open look for Sydney Taylor, but she can't pay it off. Louisville shooting 3 of 12, 25% from 3. It's an area where they have struggled with this year. Really, even last season as well. Would like to see, as we mentioned, those percentages go up.
Not again, just a little bit late, not ready to make the pass.
Beckers for 3. Back to back for Beckers. 20 points.
You can't back off of her. You know, certainly she gives it up. You can't relax. She's going to get it back, and you have to have some sort of sense of urgency. At least if you make her put it on the floor, you can rely on some rotation and some help defense.
Looking healthy and well, and putting up Player of the Year numbers once again for Paige Beckers, and an offensive foul call. Istanbuloglu with her first.
Well, there was a secondary action that got Paige Beckers open for that three. Nobody even close. And when she gives it up, you've got to get up there with a sense of urgency. She's shooting at nearly 50% from the three-point line. You know, I know Jeff Walz talked about we got to make things as difficult as possible. That's making her hit tough twos off the bounce, runners in traffic, not wide open looks from the three.
Jeff Walz should know Well, the basket won't count. Coach Paige Beckers on a USA team. And he was joking with us, you know, Paige wasn't really any good until she came to me and the USA team. How about this team, though? The one in Thailand, the U19. I mean, Ashley Jones, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Green, Queen Egbo, Ryan Howard, Aaliyah Boston, Diamond Miller, Naz Hillman.
Yeah, that was a pretty good squad he has right there.
It would be an upset, I guess, if they didn't win.
I think every coach would be smiling with that squad.
We'll head back the other way, and just asking, you know, Jeff Walz, because he gets to see Paige a little bit, right, in that summertime, and coaching her as he was the head coach. He just said she enjoys playing, and it might seem like a silly comment, but we forget, right, that these are, what, 17, 22-year-old kids on average, that they should still enjoy basketball and have fun playing basketball, regardless of the pressure, the attention, all of the extracurriculars.
And I think it just, there are a lot of players who play the game because they're really good, and there are a lot of players who just love to play the game, you know, who can't get enough of it, who are willing to do whatever it takes on both ends of the floor, you know, extra work in the gym. They all have different goals, different aspirations, and different passion levels for the game, and Paige Beckers loves to play.
Cadence Samuels misses the shot. Louisville's gotten some looks. Just can't convert on some of these open looks that they've got. Cochran with numbers around her. Samuels blocked by Cochran. Boy, she tracked back. And she tracked that shot down.
Well, that's a great effort by Olivia Cochran. That was a tough shot she had on one end. She was on the baseline and made it back in transition defense to get that block.
And we've been talking about Paige Beckers, who recently got to 1,000 career points in her last game. It took her 55 games. The slacker, Stephanie White, what were you doing?
I don't know.
It took you 70.
I must have been chilling a little bit when my first, you know, year or two in college. But really, I mean, it is incredible what Paige Beckers has done. And ties Maya Moore for the fastest to 1,000. Well, she had that incredible freshman year, has been injured since then, and it's great to see her happy and healthy back on the floor.
And Olivia Cochran, of course, congratulations to her on having one of her best seasons. Whoa, speaking of Cochran, but she got a flex coming out of that, but she's going to get whistled for the foul.
Foul number 44, Olivia Cochran.
Well, this was clean up top. Got her with the body down low.
And UConn number 12, Ashley Shade, number 4, Katie Samuels.
Playing with emotion, a little attitude. Why she's become beloved in Louisville. 3 personal fouls on Cochran. She leads the team in blocks, steals, rebounds, second on the team in scoring.
Olivia Cochran was terrific in that first half. Only 2 field goal attempts in the second. They've missed some opportunities in the half court to get her the ball. You know, that was one where she had a double team and shooting a tough shot.
Steps in the passing lane. And hustling back, it's Russell making a play. So UConn will take it out for the baseline. Well, you mentioned it, Stephanie. First of all, offensively, UConn sharing the ball probably at the best that it has this year, and their defensive intensity and transition has been so much better.
Well, they've really had to regroup and reorganize how they want to play. You know, you spend a summer working on a lot of things with depth and multiple positions, and then you get into season and things have to change. So trying to figure out rotations, matchups, lineups, and this small lineup is working for them on both ends of the floor. So now the challenge is, how do we get to another level? I mean, this is a UConn team and program that always plays a tough schedule. They played multiple ranked opponents. They've got more after this ball game. How do we separate ourselves when we know we're limited in terms of size and depth? Well, we got to speed it up. We got to turn it up. We've got to be more aggressive. We've got to do things in rotation. We've got to come with traps. We've got to force turnovers. That's how we get extra possessions.
And that whole practice thing probably helps UConn this week.
Yeah, no question. And, you know, every coach loves this time of year when there's finals are over. It's the holiday break. You can focus on basketball.
Jefferson in the paint, trying to pursue his own miss. And she draws the foul.
And it's tough for every college program in November and December. You've got a short period of time that you've got to get in all of your non-conference games. There are all these tournaments where you're playing, 2 or 3 games in 2 or 3 days. And now you get a chance to see, this is where we are. Let's reevaluate, let's reassess, and then get to work over this Christmas break, the semester break, and sort of not reinvent always, but retool for some teams before we go into conference play.
And UConn hadn't played since Sunday's win against North Carolina. Louisville had a game on December 13th against Morehead State. But there will be a break here coming up for Louisville as well.
It's odd sometimes, I think, saying that, retooling before conference play, but so many teams have so many new faces with the transfers and the grad transfers and the COVID years and all of those things that it is like every year your entire team could be brand new.
6 transfers on this Louisville team, playing really in their first year here with the Cardinals. And stepping in the passing lane, Love breaking it up. Ricards dribbling out of pressure. And Cochran for 2. Good possession for Louisville. And a timeout by UConn. Actually, the first timeout that Gino Auriemma has used here today.
He's probably relieved, because I think there are times where he's had to use them all too early.
Speaking from a coach, we'll take a timeout too. All right, thanks so much. Time for today's game summary, sponsored by Progressive. Get slam dunk savings today. Fast break points, stand out, bench points. Obviously tipping towards the UConn Huskies, but Steph White, UConn has also tied a season high with 23 assists here today.
I think that's part of the reason that they're shooting at 62%. Really, it's they're getting the best shot on the floor. They're not settling. They're not forcing players to make individual one-on-one plays. Execution, spacing, timing have all been really good.
This is what, really both head coaches wanted to see out of this. This is why they scheduled each other. This is the first, again, of a 4-game set that both of these coaches agreed to. Jeff Walz and Gino Auriemma, they're not shy to play top 25 competition and on the other's home court as well. So you learn things.
And Jeff Walz talked about his team. I mean, it was a concern of not many of his players have been in an environment or a game like this in the regular season. A lot of his mid-major transfers potentially in an NCAA tournament, but not a regular season game. It's a different intensity level. It's a different focus, mentality, all of those things. So it's a tremendous challenge.
This is a Cardinals team that comes in 10-1 overall, but had blown out their competition. Plus 21 was their scoring margin coming into today. So really kind of the first big test, if you will, against a team ranked this high and in this kind of environment. Griffin takes it away. Griffin off to the races, too strong, but gets fouled by Love. Well, 16 steals against Maryland is the season high for UConn, and they're approaching that right now. They've got 12 here so far in this game. Aubrey Griffin to the free throw line, already a season high for Griffin. You can tell she's going to have one of those games. 22 points now for Griffin. Her career high is 29. She got against Princeton in 2022.
And again, just the energy that Aubrey Griffin brings off the bench. And it's, easy to think, okay, well, we could have her in the starting lineup. She's a veteran. She's this, she's that. But it is so important to have that punch coming off the bench, to have somebody that not only can contribute from a production standpoint, but can change the energy of a ball game. And she has the ability to do that. Oftentimes, that's a tough load for freshmen. When you're coming in, you're trying not to make mistakes. You're a little unsure at times. But when you have a veteran player like you do in Aubrey Griffin that understands what is needed from her to come in and to give you that punch, that is so important. And you mentioned it off the top. I mean, UConn has changed their lineup multiple times, 6 different starting lineups, but they've been with this over the last few games. I think Gino Auriemma likes what he gets. I think he likes what he gets off the bench. And hopefully, as a coach, consistency, following through game after game. You understand, you know what you're going to get, and that helps with rotations.
It's the 4th on Cochran. So 3 players on Louisville's side have 4 personal fouls. Cochran, Jefferson, and Taylor. Griffin back to the free throw line. I feel like Aubrey Griffin is a player who just understands her role. You know, I mean, just look at, you mentioned her as a starter versus a reserve player. 5 starts this year, and the other, including today, coming off the bench. But I remember last year as a senior, she's a 5th-year senior this year, and I remember last year she wasn't going to commit about coming back or not, and then decided that she wanted one more year, her 5th season here at UConn, as she steps in the passing lane to deflect that pass. Does a little bit of everything. A little of the dirty work, the blue-collar player, and you can see how much her teammates appreciate her. Cochran sinks the jumper. And she's got 12 points. The pace that she was on, remember, 8 of the 12 came in the first quarter, and the pace she was on, you would think that she would have, you know, a lot more than 12 points at this point. And a timeout called by UConn.
30-second time.
So coming up next, we've got more high-flying college basketball action. It's on the men's side. Michigan State taking on 6th-ranked Baylor. It's right here on Fox. Game taking place in Detroit. Gus Johnson, Timmy Jackson will have that call for you. We've got 3 minutes, 24 seconds left to play in this one between Louisville and Connecticut. Stephanie White, Lisa Byington with you. It's the first meeting in 2 years between these two programs. They last met in December of 2021. Actually, Louisville won that one at Mohegan Sun. These two head coaches that know each other well. In fact, we were talking to Gino Ariema, and Jeff Walls walked up like, what are you guys talking about? So Gino was going to let him listen.
He was like those players that like to try to listen in on the huddles, you know, the timeouts or coaches' conversations.
Both of them get along well. Lots of respect between the two. 20-point lead. Largest lead has been 22 here for UConn.
Nice pass.
Arnold dumping it off to Edwards. And Edwards has a 20-point game, but set up nicely by Arnold with her 5th assist.
And I think you also just can't discount how much just game experience. And KK Arnold has, I feel like she's managing the game really, really well today. Her ability to attack and drop and engage defenders. And that's not something that you just, most players don't just have that. Now we're 10 games into the season, really learning how to play with one another, learning where your strengths can lie. Now, these freshmen for UConn are having to grow up fast. They were probably meant to come in and play some roles, maybe some of them double-figure minutes, maybe not. And now they're being thrown in to the fire, so to speak.
Love with the reach-in foul. Well, these are the most points that Louisville has given up, the 82 here so far. Their one loss, it was 78-73 to Alabama on November 24th.
Well, Jeff Walls talked to us about the fact that his defense isn't where he wants it to be. You know, this is a team that has always been known for their defensive energy and effort. They've got to continue to grow in their half-court defensive execution.
That break I'm talking about, December 20th to December 31st. Now, about 4 or 5 days he'll give his team a holiday break. But yeah, when he's talking about it, acclimating with so many different players, he said, I thought we'd be further along defensively. Cochran passing on the double team. Over to Russell from the right wing. Cochran gives him a second opportunity, puts it right back, in and out. Mentioned the ranked opponents. We saw Louisville's schedule coming up. Connecticut, including today. 3 straight against ranked opponents. They got Marquette and Creighton coming up as well. And an offensive foul against Edwards. That's her 4th. And so on December 20th, they'll go to Toronto Metropolitan, and something that Gino Auriemma is doing for all of his four-year seniors, Aaliyah Edwards being one, who's from Canada, and as we say that, Edwards checks out. They went back to Minnesota to honor Paige Beckers. They went to Croatia in the offseason for Nika Mule, and all of these players now checking out to a nice hand.
Well, if you're Gino Auriemma, you've got to be really happy with the progress that this team has made over the course of the last week or week and a half. They're playing well together, sharing the basketball, much more fluid on the offensive end of the floor. Feel like a renewed sense of energy defensively, activity level. Now it's just about building consistency. Can you give the same thing day in and day out?
The foul call. KK Arnold has been aggressive today. 9 points, 5 assists. The foul to Russell. And Aubrey Griffin. A nice hand in exchange with the head coach. 25 points for Griffin, 4 off of tying her career high. But a new season high for her today.
Well, she deserves that applause. And from the moment that she came in, she changed the pace of this ball game. Her energy, her ability to get to the rim, she was terrific.
One more substitution made, so all the starters now being subbed out. Nika Mule. We'll hear it from the crowd. Aubrey Griffin, a big part of the bench production, 25-7 advantage today. And Samuels commits the foul, 109 left to play. So the biggest takeaways you think for Louisville would be what? Jeff Walz scheduled this for a reason.
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to get back to some of the basics on the defensive end of the floor. I felt like UConn was able to move the basketball in half court easily. No disruption, not in passing lanes, not a lot of ball pressure, not a lot of physicality on cuts. So really getting back to defensive energy and intensity and focus that Louisville is known for. They've been a little feast or famine in terms of turnovers for scores throughout the course of this season. I think the other thing is a wake-up call. Sometimes you go through the course of a season, they've got a really good record, 10-1 coming into today, but the challenge of the schedule hasn't been there. So look, if we want to make deep run in the tournament, which is the reason that all of these players transferred to Louisville, this is what we have to do. Our intensity level, our focus every day in practice has to be better. And I think that's why Jeff Walz, when you get an eye-opening experience like this, you get to go home, you get to regroup, and you get to say, okay, this is what it's going to take for us to get to where we want to get to.
Louisville had 11 departures. They returned the 4 players, 8 newcomers. They got a mix and match here this year. Picked 4th in the preseason poll, picked 4th in the ACC. Samuels can't get the reverse. The final few seconds of this one from Hartford. Russell can't get it, battling for it on the boards. Good hustle from Alexia Mobley. And the rewards for UConn here today?
I think this is about as consistent as I've seen Connecticut play all season long. And we talked about their ups and downs throughout the course of a ball game and throughout the course of 4 quarters in the game. They were consistent. They shared the basketball, their ball movement, player movement offensively, and their activity level on the defensive end allowed them to get out in transition. This is going to be the identity of this team moving forward.
86 points UConn has put up, improves to 7-3 overall. Louisville drops just its 2nd game of the season, and 10-2. The 2 head coaches acknowledge each other after the game, but impressive. A couple of 20-point scores, 22 for Edwards for UConn, 20 for Beckers, 25 for Griffin, 3 20-point scores. Beckers honored before the game for 1,000 points, and UConn rolled after that. For producer Zach Kinman, our director Brian Biederman, for Stephanie White, I'm Lisa Byington. After the break, we'll get you back to Mike Hill and Casey Jacobson in the studio. UConn wins this one.